All right, welcome again to another broadcast, y'all. We're going to get right into it, and so glad that you guys can join us. We're just going to give it about 30 seconds, and then we're going to launch into this broadcast. Very important information we're going to be covering today. Let's go. Want to mention a couple of things here as we're loading it up here today. Number one, make sure you if you haven't jumped in, we got this deal going on right now. This is not a Samba Tree thing. Over 700 digital books, y'all. Over 700 digital books. If you're someone that's very much into studying history like I am, this is the thing to get. This is the thing for you to jump on. We got a whole section on that certain group of people that we're going to be talking about. And we're going to continue to talk about them because they are intertwined with our history. Well, we need to know their history. And so we get their books and we look at their history. And then we got medical history, everything about the medical industry, everything regarding, Black folks and how Black folks have been treated in the medical industry. We got books, we got studies, we got a whole bunch of stuff. Origins of Black American food, Congo history, general history, slavery. Now you may think, oh, I've heard everything about slavery. No, you haven't. There are tons and tons of excellent books that are out here that really go into details that many of which you probably never heard of because your school wouldn't teach it. But we're going to be the teacher today, and we got tons of books on that. Black fraternities and sororities, and the price of that is $9.99. I didn't say $99.99, $9.99. You got to follow the instructions here. This is on our community page. We're only taking Cash App right now, and in the note field, make sure you put your email address, because if you don't put your email address, I'm not going to know where to send it to. All right. And then make sure you check your spam folders and all the other folders, because I will respond quite promptly. At least I try to. And unless it's like real late at night, if I'm asleep, you're going to have to wait till I wake up. And so anyway, $9.99, that is it for over 700 digital books. Not only that, there's going to be a lot more I'm going to be adding in the very near future. Make sure you check that out. Okay, so that's number one. Also, very soon, we're going to also be offering, what was I going to say? We're going to be doing a special broadcast where we're going to be doing a reading. I'm going to do a reading. I am putting together right now a whole list of excerpts from various books from them folks. And you'll see what I'm talking about in a moment, because the hot topic right now is this claim that we really had a very minor role in slavery. It was just a little tiny bit. Well, what we're going to do is go right to their sources, and we're going to read word for word, page to page, what they described and what they are saying, what they said themselves. See, the reason why there's this big push to get people on ChatGPT and Grok and all of that. And I love those tools. We've taught classes on those things, right? But the reason why there's such a big push to get people to rely heavily on those things is because they don't want you to access a lot of these books that aren't available anymore. We're making available books. Some of these books are not even in print anymore. Some of them have been banned. Those are the kind of books that we're offering. And these are books that are all out and about. That ChatGPT, that Grok, they're not going to reference these books. They're not going to reference them because they don't fit into this new narrative. So that's why you must become an avid reader when it comes to your history, or just understanding history in of itself. Okay. And so, so those tools, ChatGPT, Grok, all of them, they all have their place. But the way these systems are being constructed, they are deliberately leaving out a ton of information that is out there because they want to fulfill they're trying to steer the population a certain direction. And so we're saying, no, hell no, we're not going to follow that way. We got the resources. Go check that out over there. Okay. So we're going to do a reading. That's just going to be a sampling so you can see for yourself, man, would Grok even mention this? Would ChatGPT mention this? No, it wouldn't. But we got the receipts. So stay tuned for that. I believe I'm going to try to do that tomorrow. Okay. That will be a live that we'll do. That'll be a lot of fun and all of that. Like I said, I'm just putting it all together right now. Okay. Secondly, very quickly, let's jump here. We just, again, over on sambatree.com. Make sure you check out the website, sambatree.com. We just released a ton of our, we got a new stone collection that has just been released. A lot of beautiful pieces that we have just released yesterday. And man, if you haven't grabbed one, you need to go ahead and get them. These are some wonderful handmade pieces from brown hands, from chocolate hands, y'all. Okay, so this is something that, you know, someone that we work with very closely. They do excellent, beautiful work. Check it out. It's a whole bunch of pieces that we have on here right now. And, you know, if you don't, you know, even if you're like, I got, you know, I don't need jewelry, but maybe someone in your family, there'll be a good gift for them to get or whatever. And just know that it's all handmade, 100%, and all beautiful stone pieces. This isn't stuff from China. This is stuff come from black folk hands, okay, to your neck, to your wrist, whatever it is. Okay, so that's what we got. And remember, we still got the up to 30% on promo that's going on right now, which is about to close very, very soon. So make sure you check that out. Again, the website is sambatree.com. Okay. All right. We got that all out of the way. Seems like there's something else, but whatever. Okay. So in this broadcast, very short, because like I said, again, we're going to get to the point. We're going to keep it moving. This ain't going to be the 1-2 hour videos that we normally do. We are staying literally on the neck of this whole entire issue of, you know, the certain group of people who has intertwined themselves within black culture, within black history and all of that. And so unfortunately, many of our people have become so obsessed with them. In many cases, they want to be like them. I was just reading something last night and I was up late last night. I'm telling you, I take this very seriously, which reminds me of something. But anyway, I was reading this account of these plantations in, where was this? I believe this was in Portugal, in either Portugal or Spain. And they talked about how the African slaves were so enamored with the Jews, their Jewish slave owners. They said in numbers of cases, they wanted to be Jews. I was like, that sounds very familiar. That sounds very familiar. And there's a whole history as this. There's some reasons as to why that was the case, because what was happening was, you know, Jews, they have a very strict time, you know, their work schedule and all of that kind of stuff, right? Well, it comes to find out that when it comes to having days off, Africans were actually given more time off when they were working under Jews than they were working under just the other Europeans. And so you had a lot of Africans who were bought and sold as slaves, who said, okay, you either choose, you know, the frying pan or the fire itself. And they chose the fire pan, you know, the frying pan. And that's what you'll see a lot of that. And so, yeah, so that was quite fascinating. But fast forward to today, you still have a number of our people, thanks to what they're getting, the indoctrination that's coming in churches, in the Bible and all of that, that still feel this whatever about this certain group of people. And so, and I don't, you know, and like I said, when it comes to history, we like to look at all of history. We don't deny, you know, that you had Jews that marched with black people, you know, in the civil rights movement. None of that's denied. I'm not denying that you had Jewish organizations that helped fund the legal battles when it came to black folks. None of that's denied. However, you have to look at everything else. You got to look at all of it. You got to look at all of it, right? Because they will tell you, never forget, right? This is what they'll tell you, never forget. They will stop at no expense to hunt down 90, 95-year-old people who used to be Nazi guards at some whatever, at some facility in Germany or, Poland or something like that. And they will hunt them down and bring them to justice. And I'm saying, okay, fine. That's the standard. So likewise, you as a Black American or a Black individual, you should have the same veracity when it comes to your history in identifying all the individuals who basically did what they did. You understand what I'm saying? You're not motivated by revenge. It's not about that. It is about setting the record completely straight. And we are not going to allow anybody to tell us, don't look down that hallway. We're not going to do that. We're looking down every hallway. Just like they do, we got to do it too. You understand? And in order for you to do that, you have to be in a mental place where you're not so beholden to these folks that you just, I'm not, no, this ain't the place for you. You understand? But for the rest of us, we're checking every aisle. We're checking every road, every pathway, right? Because we're trying to get all the information. And the last few days, I've been encountering, going toe to toe with a lot of these people on X. I've been facing some of these folks. I've been presenting them their own stuff. And when I tell you they done tried every game in the book to try to, twist what I was saying and all that. And I was saying, no, it doesn't work anymore. And they were getting so frustrated. They were getting so angry with me and all of that. And I was just sitting back like, okay, well, get mad at yourself. That's what y'all said. This is your book. That's what y'all said. Well, you don't quite understand it. Don't you know that the Talmud is 500,000 books or whatever it is, and we don't understand it. Okay, well, you understand that portion that called us monkeys. You understand that they said that we're less than human, right? When then they did the wrong thing. They said, well, see, what you don't understand is, see, you're taking something out of context. And I'm saying, whoa, wait a minute. How do you take someone calling you an ape out of context? I don't understand that. How is that even possible? How is that taken? How am I taking that out of context? Well, see, this man's, you're going all the way back. See, you're going back something that happened centuries ago. I said, yeah, you guys go back something that happened almost a century ago too. So what? I don't see the problem here. So it's okay for you, but it's not okay for us. No, Black folks, we have to be literate, astute. We have to be able to do this. Because I do this. What drives me is getting the story right for our people, for our children. You understand what I'm saying? Not to glaze over this stuff. And we're not going to allow anybody to come in and tell us how to tell our story. We're going to get the story right. You understand? And that's what this is about. So anyway, with that being said, a while back, if you guys have been following us on this platform, we have been, I've talked about quite extensively, when it comes to the area of housing. And there's just a long history of that because they would like to tell you, we're brothers in the struggle and all this other stuff. But if you have ever heard someone use the word, slumlord, if you ever heard the word slumlord, and slumlords, as you can imagine, is basically a landlord that basically they'll take your money and then they don't really do nothing to take care of the property, right? It's a long history of that. They've made movies about this. It's funny and all this other stuff. But there are many, many people, particularly Black folks, who've had to live through this stuff. But what a lot of times people don't go even press a little bit further, and they don't see that many of the top slumlords, I don't know how often New York City comes up with this, but they generate a list quite often, and they show these are the top slumlords of New York City. And almost all of those names routinely are someone that has the blue star. It's just almost always. And, and this is something that Black folks have had to endure for a very, very long time. Well, if you think that has stopped and things have just moved on, well, guess again, it's still going on to this day. I came across an article that was published back in October, this past October, where they're talking about the same kind of games that are being played this time down in Baltimore. okay? But first, what I want to do is I want to share with you this video just to catch some of you guys up, because I've talked about this particular story of this is something that went down in Jersey City, And I want you to take a look at this story here. So let me bring this story up on the screen and let's take a look at it. It's a very short video here. So let's take a look at it, and I'll be right back, okay?
We have been documenting the changes reshaping Jersey City, physically and culturally, mostly downtown where condo towers have replaced empty lots, but in the inner city, here in the heart of the black community, Orthodox Jews have been arriving on Martin Luther King Drive over the past several months, and their presence is being noticed. This is Yul Pearl, a spokesperson for the Yazoru Committee, which is opening a community center on MLK.
Most of the people that's coming here most of them are from Brooklyn, and they live in Williamsburg. To buy a house in Williamsburg now, it's $1.5 million. Prices here is going now to buy a house. $180,000, $200,000, $200,000. So this we could the low-income people could afford these things.
In that way, the Hasidim who have discovered the Bergen, Lafayette, and Greenville neighborhoods are not unlike the recently arrived hipsters downtown, just looking for cheap housing. But Hasidim are known to be insular, and longtime residents here are known to be distrustful of anybody new. So far, the two sides just seem to be sizing each other up.
You guys know me. I know him, I know. I live right here. He's a nice guy. I know him.
Pearl says since January, 11 families have moved into this neighborhood, still one of the toughest in the city. He says 50 to 60 homes are already under contract. The committee is marketing apartments to families for affordable rents, $800 for one bedroom, $1,100 for a two-bedroom.
If you were to look into the future,
Yes.
in 2 years, 5 years,
Yes.
what would this community look like?
We don't know this. We can't say what's going to be in
the future.
future.
Yeah.
But this we have to told. We don't want to throw out people. We don't, because here it's many houses for sale. So we understand.
Real estate agent Tina Devine grew up in this very neighborhood and has seen its demise and now its rise.
Tell me what the market is like here on and around MLK.
The market is hot. It's hot. Sellers are selling at or above asking price. There are a lot of investors that are moving into the neighborhood, and then there's low inventory. So that's creating a higher demand for the neighborhood.
But already some residents have begun to complain about aggressive buyers, whose persistence, they say, borders on harassment. Ashinia Johnson is on the board of the nearby South Greenville Neighborhood Association.
When you have people, day after day, week after week, knocking on their door, like, do you want to sell, and telling them this is going to happen, that is going to happen, and they're basically scaring them into selling, and they're offering people, $90,000, $150,000 for buildings that can go for $1 million or better. And that, as a member of the neighborhood association and a concerned resident, I have a concern about that.
Is that happening?
Yes, it's problem. Many people, Hasidic people that wants to come here, and they want to buy houses for cheap, and so they're asking, but they are trying. But if they don't want to sell it, they could told it not.
Yeah. Well,
he's choosing his stories. He's being very careful. But I'm pausing here because I want to make sure you pay very close attention here. Look at what's on the wall here. This is one of the tactics that they used in Jersey City. Okay, in Jersey City, the section of the town in Jersey City just happened to, at that time, it happened to be a predominantly black community. Black people had been living there for years and years and years. So there was this overflow. What was going on in New York? You got section, like particularly like in places like Brooklyn, where you have a high percentage of Jews that live in that area. And what was happening was, because there was such an overflow, what was going on was that they started to look southward, or however the direction is, or eastward, whatever, towards New Jersey. They start looking into New Jersey, and of course you have Jersey City. But take a look at the sign behind them. So what they were doing, they was pressuring black people out of their homes and all of that. And I want you to make sure you bookmark in your mind the tactic that they were using, because this is going to be connected to the bigger story that I'm going to share. And so they would acquire these homes, and then what they would do is put them back on the market for rent, right? Now, you have to, when you list something for, when you, let's say if I bought some properties and I was like, okay, I'm going to rent it out to the public, I legally cannot say I'm only renting this out to black people. You can't do that, right? Because you're going to run into all kind of problems with that. So what these people did was, okay, we're going to list it publicly, but we're going to list the listing in Hebrew, as you can see on the wall there. And so who are the only people that's going to know how to read that? Their own people. So this is the kind of tactics that they were using. So if you were a black person and you were looking for a place to rent in Jersey City, you got all these homes that are available, but you don't even know any of the details. Why? Because the listings are in Hebrew. But this was the kind of stuff that they were doing to push black folks out of the community. So let's go. The video's almost over with, but let's continue.
Do they take no for an answer, or do they keep trying to?
No, they take of course. No is no.
We've heard this before in towns like Lakewood and Toms River, where the city is now considering an ordinance to outlaw this kind of soliciting. And then there's the history of places like Crown Heights, where tensions between blacks and Orthodox Jews exploded into violence in the 1990s.
No, don't get me wrong. I appreciate what they do because they try to help people, right? But I don't like no conniving stuff, you know. Don't do that. Don't deceive me. Right. All right. Because if you do that, then you're going to get violence.
You know, people will say that, but I tend not to look at it in that way. That's what we do not want to happen.
It's not a new thing to have an Orthodox Jewish community and a predominantly African-American community living together in a great neighborhood. And that's hopefully what that ends up being. And it's just still in the very early phases of this, but we'll see where it goes.
Change here is inevitable and fraught with the potential for conflict. But change also presents opportunities for progress and dynamism that hasn't been seen here in decades. For NJTV News, I'm David Cruz.
All right, there you go. That's pretty much the video there. And for those, I appreciate the gentle correction there, but let me help you. Yes, they speak in Yiddish, but it's also referred to as modern Hebrew. And I would more than welcome you to pause the video if you would like and go look that up. Okay, so it's actually they refer to it as modern Hebrew. Okay, that's what it's referred to as. So yeah, they speak and they communicate in Yiddish. That is true. However, what they are writing in what they call, I'm not saying it, but they call it modern Hebrew. All right. And I've looked at this stuff for years or whatever, and I would more than welcome you to do the same thing. Okay. It's out there. Okay. So I just want to make sure you guys got that. But as always, I do appreciate it, but I want to make sure you guys got that part too. All right. So let's get back into it. So anyway, so let's go now that you got I'm showing you an example of something that they've been doing for a very long time. Let's take a look at this latest story here that I came across here. Give me just a moment. I'll bring it up here. It's right here. This was in the publication called the Baltimore Banner. The Baltimore Banner. And I'm sorry, my screen looked a little dark there. My light, whatever, went out for some reason. It's not about accepted by scholarship. It's not that. It's there. You know what I'm saying? It's not about like I got some scholarship and you don't. That's why I always encourage people to, hey, let's look these things up. You know what I mean? But that's what they call it. They refer to it as modern Hebrew. You know what I mean? But I don't care if they put it in Thai, but they're playing some games to keep black people out of their houses. How about that? That's what I'm talking about. Okay. So it don't matter at the end of the day. But anyway, okay, so this was in the Baltimore Banner. And I'm just going to go through the article and you're going to see the same things that they were doing, the same games they were playing before. And they are still playing it now. The housing hustle igniting a foreclosure crisis in Baltimore. All right, so we'll go. And this article was written back in just recently. It was in October. The foreclosure could send neighborhoods spiraling and make Baltimore the center of America's next big housing crisis. Diana Scott's East Baltimore row house isn't perfect, but the last 5 years has given her family stability in an economy where everything from gas to groceries costs more. Let's see. Every month, the family of 5 pays $1,100, an attractive rent considering the value of the home has tripled during her tenancy, at least on paper. The foreclosure notice arrived. Something peculiar is happening to the Scott's home, along with nearly a dozen more on her street, and up to 704 across Baltimore. In concentrated pockets of the city's east and west sides, many of the homes have hit the auction blocks this year at noticeably inflated prices, and no one's biting. Scott's home is part of a portfolio linked to New York buyers who leaned on a newly popular mortgage loan product to buy hundreds of homes in Baltimore. Private equity funds have fueled its rise, with many of the mortgages now in default. Lenders and note holders have been left holding the bag. And I'll explain some of this to you as we're going through here. But I just want you to get we're just going through the article right now. Okay. I'll be pausing to explain things a little bit further so you understand the game and how they're playing. All right. Starting in June, at least 5 Wall Street backed financiers blacklisted the buyers, as well as some of their associates and affiliate entities, and clamped down on lending in Baltimore. But by then, the New York buyers had amassed some $100 million worth of loans from at least 24 private lenders, including Ameritrust Mortgage Corp and RCN Capital, according to public land records. At least half of the Baltimore properties in the New York and New Yorkers portfolio are or in nearing foreclosure. So many defaults could send neighborhoods spiraling and untether families like the Scotts. And it has the potential to make Baltimore a ground zero for America's next great foreclosure crisis, dooming the effort to clear the city's stock of vacant homes and scaring off investment at a time it's sorely needed. Over a 4-month investigation, the Banner reviewed thousands of public property records, business filing, court records, and private loan documents, and analyzed real estate transactions and mortgage data sets. The paper trail leads to a New York buyer named Benjamin Eadlis, and I'm just going to Eadlis, I guess that's how you say his name, who for the better part of a decade set his sights on making money in Baltimore. And I'm just going to skip over this right here. These are I guess, all the properties here. Say over 700 and something properties here. Eadlis jumped into Baltimore real estate in 2017 with a plan hatched out of an 800 square foot office in an Orthodox Jewish community within Spring Valley, New York. He had first tried unsuccessfully to develop housing in Beacon, New York, according to Eadlis' testimony to a New York state judge. Then he and a business partner, Benjamin Bruce Shear, formed a limited liability company called B&H Ventures and bought roughly 100 homes in Baltimore. Shear was to provide the initial funding, while Eadlis listed as the LLC's resident agent, would oversee daily operations according to court filings and testimonies. Basically, what's going on is they're layering things. They're creating these little protections, right? That's what's happening right now. So let's continue. Initially, the profit margins were thin, but Eadlis and Shear planned to rent all the homes, refinance at a lower rate, and turn a profit by year 3, court records show. Instead, by 2020, their friendship was over and investors began suing. A raft of lawsuits alleged that mortgages, property taxes, and water bills and maintenance costs had gone unpaid. And I'm explaining that as we get in a little bit more. Let me just keep on reading. Scheer accused Elis of lying to investors and lenders, falsifying documents, and using company funds for personal expenses. Elis denied the allegations and accused Scheer of financial impropriety, and which Scheer said was false. Blah, blah, blah. They sharks going in on each other. Scheer declared personal bankruptcy and the bankruptcy on behalf of B&H Ventures in 2022, halting the legal proceedings involving him and Elis. Neither Scheer or Elis responded to multiple requests, blah, blah. Rather than winding down in the face of mounting legal financial troubles, Elis found a new partner and doubled down. On April the 19th, 2022, an entity called EGBE Ventures was organized in Maryland. Using Elis' home address, it was registered in the name of Eliezer Gold, a Spring Valley, New York resident who had a good credit score according to personal financial documents reviewed by the Banner. EGBE Ventures, a combination of Gold's and Elis initials, brought a majority of the B&H Venture homes. All right. These weren't exactly subtle. They weren't exactly subtle about their intentions. Over the next 2 years, Gold formed more companies that would buy homes in Baltimore, naming them Zahav Ventures, Kesef Ventures, and Gelt Ventures. Words that translate from Hebrew and Yiddish to mean gold and money. So that takes care of all y'all that's talking about, is it Hebrew, is it Yiddish? I told you it don't matter at the end of the day. I'm messing with y'all. But you see, it don't matter. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. Online property records reviewed by the Banner showed Elis and Gold's transactions described as arm's length, meaning they were independent parties who didn't know each other. Disclosing a relationship, see how they're playing this game, can help ensure that real estate transactions are free from conflicts of interest or self-dealing and are listed based on merits of the deal. Gold's LLC ultimately brought more than 500 homes in Baltimore from various sellers and hired one of Elis' many companies to manage them. Gold also declined repeated requests for comment. Let's see. In a brief in-person encounter outside his New York office, Elis declined to answer. And they said basically he sat in his car, black SUV, and he's got a license plate shaped car decal that says #1 Dad. And anyway, it goes on here. Baltimore's abundance, because we're going to get into the type of loan. That's where I'm getting into, because this is something that you want to make sure you keep an eye out for. Baltimore's abundance of vacant properties has troubled city and state leaders for half a century. I'll just kind of speed up a little bit. When the governor, Brandon Scott, that's the Westmore. Westmore was the governor. Brandon Scott, he's the mayor. When they saw that, oh snap, it looks like people snatching up all these homes. All these homes are getting snatched up. And like I said, y'all, I apologize. I'm like looking like Two-Face here. My light went out here. So anyway, I forgot to charge it up. But anyway, so these mayors, they were looking at this overabundance of vacant homes in Baltimore, and they noticed that, dang, somebody's coming in and they're all being bought up. And they were getting all pumped up and was saying, yes, look at what's happening. Baltimore's on the come up, right? So they were getting excited. They were coming out with all these different slogans about Baltimore on the come up, because now all of a sudden these homes were getting bought up. But there's more to the story. So let's get back to the story here. All right, so let's see here. A financial advisory group conducting a study for the Greater Baltimore Committee traced the progress to private lenders and found an unexpected source of money flowing into the city. Let's see. The researchers reported that financing with high interest rates and looser restrictions or hard money was helping to pay for investments in neighborhoods where bank money had historically been slow to flow. All right, now here's where we get into it. It's called a debt service coverage ratio loan. All right, let me say that again. It's called a debt service coverage ratio loan, or DSCR. Landlords in Baltimore have been increasingly flocking to it in the past 5 years, a banner analysis of national mortgage data shows. Let me get out of here for a second here. So basically, the way this loan works, and I'll explain it to you, it works like this. Lenders will, okay, so you had this Jewish investment group, right? What they did was they had a whole bunch of houses, all these houses, right, that they had their eye on. So they were like, okay, we want to get these homes, and we're going to basically be rent. And the bank is like, okay, well, what are you going to be using the homes for? Well, we're going to rent them out. They're going to be rental properties. And so the bank is like, okay, now we can do this one of two ways. We can do the traditional loan where we got to make sure that we're validating your income and all of that stuff. Or we got this new thing, this DSCR. Is it DSCR? Am I reading that? Yeah, DSCR option, where what we do is you just tell us to project it based on the income that you're projecting that you're going to get in, let's say, in the next 5 years. And based off of your projection, we're going to give you a loan. That's a high risk loan. That's a high risk loan. So and so they were like, obviously, yeah, let's do that. So what they did was they came in, they got those DSCR loans, right? And so, and then I'm gonna get into this later on in the story. What they were doing was you had black people who were investors, in some cases were investors that were buying up multiple homes in this community. And so you got, then these Jews came in and said, okay, we want to buy your home, but we're going to buy it at this level. Like this one guy, it was like 5 years ago, he spent $13,000 and bought the home. But the Jews came in and said, okay, we want to buy it at a much higher rate. So it was like $100,000 or something like that. We'll get into it. It was like $100,000 or something like that. 5 years, you went from 13,000, and someone's coming and saying they're gonna offer you $100,000 for your house. I mean, who wouldn't take that? A 5 year, that's awesome return. So they would do that. Now, mind you, this guy, he had other people in these homes already. So the guy, he's getting the money, right? This black guy, he's getting the money. However, that extra that they overestimated intentionally, because again, it's not based off of real income, it's based off of what you project it to be. So you can come in there and make up whatever you want. So they saying, okay, well, we're going to say this home is at value at $200,000 or something ridiculous, right? And so the bank is like, okay, bet, let's give you that amount. So whatever they agreed with the purchasing price of this black guy who was an investor, this is just one case, like I said, we'll get into it. They gave him that amount, right? But the extra they kept for themselves, right? And then the people who actually were still renting in those homes, some of them are still paying rent, others were not. Well, it didn't matter because the stuff that was needed to maintain those homes and all of that, nothing was ever happening. So what ended up happening was a number of these people were getting these letters. You paying rent, and all of a sudden you get a letter in your mail saying they're about to foreclose on your home. You're like, oh, why am I getting this? That needs to go to them. You know what I'm saying? So that's the kind of game. So I'm just kind of fast forwarding a little bit and just going ahead a little bit so you can kind of understand what was going on in the story here. So let me switch back here, and then I'll get to that story so you can see that part there where they talk about that. Okay, so let's see. Let's see. Let's go here. All right, so that's that. Okay, here we go. So this is Melvin Davis. He said, I regret it now. He says, something felt weird when Baltimore real estate agent Sharaga Lerner approached him in 2023 with an overly generous offer for an East Baltimore investment property he had bought for $13,000 about 5 years earlier. Lerner, according to Davis, told the 69-year-old Maryland Transit Administration bus dispatcher that his client would pay around $100,000 for the raw house. The buyer was an LLC that lists Gold as its owner. When Davis went to sign the papers, the deal was recorded at a $2,200,000 sale. I hope you follow. You guys tracking with me on this? So this home, Davis, the Melvin Davis, he purchased it 5 years earlier at $13,000. So, I mean, if we're going to guesstimate appreciation in Baltimore, I don't know, let's assume, the condition of the house wasn't the greatest, but $13,000 in 5 years, I mean, it ain't going to go up. Let's put it this way. It would probably be under $50,000 if he didn't do anything to the home. That's me really stretching it. But these Jewish investors came in and listed the sale as $2,200,000. All right. And then they said with $92,000 made out to a third party called Better Way LLC, according to private settlement documents reviewed by the Banner. That's one of many LLCs registered to Eadless, the Banner found. Davis, a prolific East Baltimore property owner and landlord, said Lerner told him the extra money would go towards renovating the house. An LLC registered to Lerner, meanwhile, took a $15,000 cut. Lerner declined to comment. His name appears on the Wall Street blacklist. It's unclear what Better Way did with the $92,000. No permits have been pulled from the North Luzerne Avenue home, according to the city database, and the longtime tenant living there told Davis that the house was never renovated. Ain't that sad? Davis, overwhelmed by tenants' inability to pay their bills due to the COVID-19 pandemic, jumped at the opportunity to sell off some of his rental properties. Now he feels he left his former tenants in the lurch. So what happens now is, unfortunately, you had COVID going on, right? And as I'm talking about Melvin Davis here, he is, everybody's hurting during this time financially. Everybody's hurting. So he's trying to find an off-ramp to all of these properties where he's not really getting income, because the people who are staying there, they have this inability to pay. You know what I'm saying? Like for example, in New Jersey, for example, I can't speak for Maryland. They actually had a moratorium on people paying their mortgages and rents. It was almost for a year. So just imagine that, right? So anyway, just imagine someone like a Mr. Melvin here. He's not getting rent. He's not getting that rent income. So he's looking for an off ramp to kind of get rid of some of these properties. So took that off ramp, but while he got his money, right, the people who were actually still in those homes, they're not being taken care of. In other words, it's not the smooth arrangement that was set up by Melvin. You know what I mean? Mr. Melvin. And so, yeah, that's basically what's going on. That's what happened here. Davis, overwhelmed by tenants' inability to pay their bills due to COVID-19 pandemic, jumped at the opportunity to sell off some of his rental properties. Now he feels he left his former tenants in the lurch. I regret it now, Davis said. He sold 7 homes to an Loser Gold LLC. All but one have entered the foreclosure process. And the sad thing is people will look at Mr. Melvin and say that he's the bad guy in this, but that's not true. Anyway, and then check this part out. At an auction in July on the courthouse steps in downtown Baltimore, lenders for the New Yorkers tried and failed to sell some of the gold properties that went into foreclosure. When an auctioneer read out the address, he was met with silence. No one bid, because people already knew it's overblown in price. It's not clear why Eadless and Gold kept buying homes they didn't seem to lease or renovate. 2 LLCs associated with gold that purchased properties in Baltimore have declared bankruptcy, and in court documents, he attributed their demise to bad luck, saying he couldn't find tenants. And that's a lie from the straight from the pit of hell. But what I'll do is I'm gonna put the link in the chat here, and I would encourage you to check out to read the rest of this article here, because yeah, it goes into a little bit more where you got more people, you know, who was talking about the, you know, the stuff that they had to deal with because of this whole arrangement here. But the fact of the matter is, and this is why I wanted to do this video, is that this is stuff that has been going on, particularly in black communities, for decades. It goes on all the time, and it's typically by the same group of people over and over again. The same group of people, they usually are the ones behind all of this stuff. And there's this fear amongst what we call black leadership to call these people out for what they are. They'll show up when there's some kind of protest or something like that. They'll put their arms around us and talk about how we're brothers and all this other stuff, but they don't have the stones to call this stuff out. And this stuff goes on literally all the time. And so I would highly encourage you, read that article and then do your little research too. Just look some of this stuff. You'll find, just like me, there are plenty of stories that are just like this that happen all the time. And this is why it's important for us as black Americans, as black folks, to look these things up so that we can be better educated. We can be more literate in understanding our history, right? And being able to pass accurate history down to our children. Do not, and I repeat, when it comes to ChatGPT, Grok, any of these other LLMs, they have their place. They do have their place, but they cannot replace actual books and actual full reading. Okay? So this is what you need to make sure you are incorporating. If you're a homeschooling parent, man, just keep doing it. Keep pushing that reading agenda mindset to your children, because that's what it's about. That's where it goes. Okay. Let's break this whole cycle, this joke that's out here that if you want to hide something from a black man, put it in a book. It's about time we start breaking those broken mindsets and begin to start repairing it. And the way we're going to do it is to inform ourselves on issues like this. Okay. And like I said, I believe tomorrow, if I don't have anything that pops up, tomorrow we will be doing a readathon where we're going to be going through some of these books, and I'm going to show you all of these excerpts from various books. Some of them are rare, some of them you can't even get anymore, and the stuff that these people have said about themselves, it will literally blow you away. So anyway, family, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, really appreciate that. Remember, we had that up to 30% off sale that's going on right now over on Samba Tree. We just dropped a whole beautiful stone collection. Check that out again. Again, that's sambatree.com. Thank you so much, you guys. Listen, you take care, and then we'll be talking again soon. Take care now.